Hello everyone, International Rations here again, and today what I have for you is this US MRE. This is the Menu 8 Meatballs and Marinara sauce. I suppose you would call this a kind of Italian-inspired meal, and it has some pretty interesting components. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get right into this. Let's see if we can open this up with just our hands. Alright, there we go. Let's see what we have. First up, we have a orange beverage powder with no fruit juice. We have an accessory pack. We might as well open this up and see what we have. We have a moist towelette. We have some Splenda. I believe this is a sugar substitute without any calories. We've got some creamer non-dairy dry for coffee or tea. We have some Bill's Brew freeze-dried coffee. Some standard gum. Toilet paper / tissue paper. And some salt. Next up, we have our flameless ration heater. I'll just set that aside for now. We have a tube of cheese spread with jalapenos. We have a chocolate chip cookie. Alright, and it just fell off to the side, but we also have an MRE spoon, of course. A hot beverage bag. We have the main course. Meatballs and marinara. For whatever reason, we have a second hot beverage bag. That might have been a mistake, or maybe it's intended. We have a sleeve for our main course. We have some Italian breadsticks. We have a package of cherry blueberry cobbler. Alright, and last thing, we have a teriyaki beef stick. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this onto a tray and get some of this prepared, and I will see you there. Alright, so I got that main meal in the flameless ration heater, and hopefully that's getting heated up pretty well. But while we wait for that, let's go ahead and prepare our Bill's Brew freeze-dried coffee. Alright, here we go. Nice large grains, as you can see there. I didn't bother with the FRH for my hot water. I just went ahead and heated it up. I've had poor luck in the past with those flameless ration hot beverage bags, so figured I wouldn't bother with it this time. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and try this right now. It's a nice strong cup of coffee. You could probably put another ounce or two of water in there and still have a nice strong, vibrant coffee flavor to it. I'm going to go ahead and put a little of this creamer in and see if that changes anything. I'm usually not a huge fan of these powdered creamers, but I want to go ahead and test everything in the ration. Alright, after a brief struggle, I got that open. Alright, that seems like plenty. Alright, let's try this with the powdered cream. It's actually a fairly pleasant drink. I actually don't mind that powdered cream flavor at all with this. It gives it a much more light, creamy coffee, and if you are used to your coffee having cream in it, I usually drink it black, but if you like it with cream, this will definitely be a lot more familiar to you than having black coffee. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and open up this teriyaki beef stick. Alright, I've had one of these before, and as you can see, it comes in another package aside from its MRE package. Alright, here we go. Somewhat difficult to get open without a knife handy, but if you're in the military, you will have a knife anyway, so That's poor planning on my end. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and try this teriyaki beef stick. Alright, and I definitely recognize that flavor from when I had this in the first strike ration. They definitely have good quality control because this tastes exactly the same. However, as I mentioned the last time I had this meat stick in the first strike ration, it says it's a teriyaki beef stick, as you can see, but it really doesn't have any sort of a teriyaki flavor. It tastes more of like a sweet kind of honey flavored meat stick. With that being said, I do like it, however, it doesn't really taste teriyaki. So if you're hoping for a spicy teriyaki meat stick, you're going to be disappointed. But if you like sort of sweetened honey meat sticks, then you're going to like this. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and prepare this carbohydrate electrolyte beverage powder orange, natural and artificial flavor, and it says add to 12 ounces of water. So very large amount of water there for a drink, which I'm sure is very much welcome, assuming you have at least that much water on you. A nice big drink is always nice after exerting yourself. So let's go ahead and prepare this. Alright, I have some cold water here. Probably would be a luxury in the field you probably wouldn't have, but I'm going to go ahead and prepare this with cold water anyway. It mixes in very well and very quickly, even with cold water. Usually these mixes dissolve better with hot water. However, it seems to have dissolved almost completely immediately, even with this cold water. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and try this. I'm pretty sure I've had this a couple times, but let's see how I like it today. It's that familiar kind of processed orange flavor. It definitely doesn't taste like an orange juice or anything like that. It's much closer to a electrolyte beverage like Gatorade or something like that. So if you like orange Gatorade or that kind of drink, you'll probably definitely like this. However, I've never been a huge fan of that, so it's not my favorite drink. And while I'm not a huge fan of its flavor or similar drinks like orange Gatorade or anything like that, it has a lot of sugar and electrolytes that'll help you get back up on your feet after exerting yourself a lot. So it's very nice for that, even if it doesn't have the greatest flavor in the world. Alright, let's go ahead and check on our FRH and see if that's heated up our meal. It hasn't seemed like it's been too terribly effective, but let's go ahead and open this up and see what we have. Alright, and I've never been too great at preparing these FRHs, however I will say this is a little bit lukewarm. I might go ahead and microwave it, but it might be okay. Some parts of this are nice and warm, but other parts are a bit cooler. I also went ahead and tried to heat up these Italian breadsticks here, and they're pretty cold as well. So I'm not sure if that's me or if it's the FRH, but either way, not the greatest effect here as this is a little bit cold, or rather not as warm as it should be. But I think I'm going to go ahead and plate this and just eat it as it is. It seems warm enough that it'll be plenty bearable. Alright, here we go. It looks like there's a nice tomato sauce and some little mini meatballs in there. Alright, let me go ahead and clean off my spoon. Alright, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and say a quick prayer and we'll get right into this. Alright, let's go ahead and try to distribute this heat. And without any further ado, hopefully this won't be too cold. And I actually really like that. The tomato sauce is very good. It all tastes a little bit sweetened, but I don't mind that too much, and I know that's very common in these kind of components. Maybe it's just made with a more kind of sweeter kind of tomato. Overall, though, I really do like it. It's not too terribly cold or anything like that, and it's still warm enough to have the effect of a more hot kind of warm meal. So I'm going to go ahead and give this another couple of bites, but so far, first impressions are really good. And I really don't have much bad to say about that at all. It's very good. There's plenty of meatballs, and they all seem perfectly cooked. There's none that are too crunchy or anything like that at all. I'm going to go ahead and open these Italian breadsticks, and we'll get a look at those as well. Alright, And here is the US military version of Italian breadsticks. I wouldn't call these Italian breadsticks to the face of an Italian, but hopefully they're pretty good. They're certainly different. They're not the kind of breadsticks that you would get at Olive Garden or something like that. They're a bit more chewy and they have sort of a raw consistency. I'm sure they're perfectly well cooked, but it's kind of the texture they have. They're a bit more chewy. It's very interesting. They definitely have some sort of green herbs or something like that in there, which is nice to see. I'm gonna go ahead and dip it in the marinara sauce because there's really nothing else to try with this. But let's go ahead and see if this is an okay combination. It's a bit different of a combination. I'm going to go ahead and just go for broke and try this along with everything, all the meatballs and the sauce and everything, and see how this tastes. And it is a bit strange with the texture and everything when you eat it all like that in one bite, but the flavor is actually pretty good and I like it quite a bit. I wouldn't say they're the most Italian breadsticks I've ever seen, and they are a little sad, but that's what you get when you have to compress them in a small space and you have to have all the servings match up pretty well and make sure you have the right amount of food. Overall, they're a pretty good component. I'm not complaining at all, and it is nice to see them at least try to have a sort of Italian uh, inspired meal here with the breadsticks along with the Italian main course. It's pretty nice, and it's sort of a theme. Sort of gives you a bit of an impression that you're back home at a restaurant. It's not quite what you would get at a restaurant, but it's nice that they have that sort of theme going on. I'm sure it would be a very nice taste of home when you're away on a deployment. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then we can get on to the chocolate chip cookie and the pudding, or rather the cobbler. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and open up this jalapeno spread and try this on the breadsticks. I almost forgot we had this here, so I'm kind of excited to see if this is any good with the breadsticks. Alright, and there we go. Alright, let's try this. And it's a very pleasant combination. I don't think I've had this cheese spread with jalapeno before, but I heard it's very popular and I can see why. It's a very nice, pleasant taste, and it gives you that kick that you really don't get in a lot of other MRE components. Uh, they also seem to have discontinued the Tabasco sauce that I think was fairly common a couple years ago. So this is very nice, especially if you like a kind of spicy meal. I'm not usually huge into spice, but I don't mind it at all. And this is a really nice combination, and I think the cheese spread is really good as well. Alright, so I finished up the main course along with the Italian breadsticks and the jalapeno cheese spread. And I must say it was actually really good. Definitely one of the better MREs I've had. Although I haven't had too many, this one really stands out. It's definitely a big step up from the First Strike ration, since you have hot coffee and hot meals. It's very nice. Gives you much more of a taste of home and a sense of normalcy, which I would imagine is very nice if you're on a deployment or something like that. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into dessert. First up is this chocolate chip cookie, which appears to be a bit fragmented here. Alright, so it hasn't really survived being jostled around, but without any further ado, this is our US MRE chocolate chip cookie. It's pretty good. You really can't complain about getting a cookie. It's hard to mess up, and this is one of the better ones. I'm going to go ahead and try this again, and I'll give you a bit better of a description. As you can see, it's a crunchy cookie rather than a soft cookie. I don't really have a huge preference. Personally, I like them both. The chocolate is actually really good. I got a nice big piece of chocolate in there, and it tastes pretty good. It's a nice, seemingly fairly good quality chocolate, and it's nice and warm, and it kind of melts in your mouth. So very nice. It's a great cookie. I'm going to go ahead and finish it up, and then we can get on to this blueberry cobbler. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this cherry blueberry cobbler. This isn't heated yet. I might open it up and then heat it. I'm not sure whether I'll eat it cold or not yet. I'm going to go ahead though and just open this right up. Alright, and that is what it looks like. It's a bit of a conglomeration of cherry and blueberry and what looks like some kind of a bread piece or something like that. I'll probably go ahead and heat this up and then I'll get this onto the plate. Alright, here we go. Here's our heated cherry and blueberry cobbler. Alright, let's get this mixed up a little bit. I'm not sure if cobbler is very common in Italian food or anything like that. I've always thought it more as a kind of southern staple. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and try this. I really like it. It has a very nice, vibrant cherry and blueberry flavor. I'm going to go ahead and try another bite here. It's really good. It has some sort of nut in the breading. I went ahead and checked on the nutrition facts, and it says it's pecan. It has a very nice fruit flavor to it, as you can see, it has actual pieces of cherry and blueberry, as you would expect in a cobbler. It's a really good component. I really like it. I'm going to go ahead and finish it up, and then we can get on to the rest. Alright, so I finished up that cobbler, and I must say it was really good. I always appreciate it when they include desserts that are something other than just a pound cake or a cookie, because in my opinion, it really shows more of an effort to have a special kind of dessert like a pudding, or in this case, a cobbler or something like that. And it kind of shows, in my opinion, kind of that they care a bit more than just a regular old cookie or a pound cake. As nice as those are, and it's always nice to have one in a ration, they're kind of the baseline dessert, and it's really easy to put them in there. And it's just kind of low effort in a sense. But when they put in a special kind of dessert, it's always really nice. And it just seems to me it's much more of a taste of home, in my opinion. In this case, we actually got both a cookie and a cobbler, which is a lot of sugar and carbohydrates. But I suppose that'll probably help you quite a bit when you're recovering from a lot of strenuous activity or preparing for some more strenuous activity. So I suppose it's warranted to have a lot of sugar and carbohydrates. And I will say there's also a nice bit of protein with the meatballs, and overall I think it's a pretty good meal. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and just try this gum. I do believe I've had this quite a few times by now. Alright, so that does it for this ration, and I must say I'm quite impressed. I haven't had too many MREs, but this is one of the better meals I've had, especially if you include the soft gum ration that I've had. The main course was really good. There was plenty of meatballs in there, as well as a nice ratio of meatballs to sauce. The tomato sauce was really good, and the meatballs seemed like they were all perfectly cooked. Sometimes you will occasionally get a crunchy meatball or something like that in other meals, but in this one, nothing like that. Everything seemed to be cooked absolutely perfectly. There was also some very welcome flavors and spices and pepper and stuff like that mixed in with the sauce. So it was very nice, and overall, I would say it's definitely something you'd expect to get at a restaurant, and there's really nothing you could complain about at all if you were served this in a restaurant. It's definitely restaurant grade in my opinion. The cobbler as well was a really good component, which I quite enjoyed, and I would also say that was restaurant grade as well. In fact, it would be the perfect way to end off a meal at a southern restaurant with a cobbler like that and a little bit of vanilla ice cream. And while not everything in the ration was quite as high quality as the main course, there's really nothing I can complain about at all. I think the breadsticks and the teriyaki meat stick were good as well, and very nice additions to the meal. And you really can't complain about having a chocolate chip cookie at all either. They're nice quality cookies, and they're always really good, at least in my experience. The coffee was pleasantly high quality as well, and it was a nice strong brew, especially when you only brew it with about 6 ounces of water, I believe it was. The only thing that isn't really my favorite flavor-wise is the orange beverage, but that's just a personal taste thing. It's not really that it's a bad drink. I've just never really cared for the kind of orange sports drink flavor. But as far as recovering electrolytes and sugar goes, it's probably a really great drink, and the flavor isn't bad at all. I can drink it no problems. It's just not my favorite compared to, say, like raspberry or grape or something like that. I really do like those kinds of flavors in drinks. Orange has just never been my favorite aside from orange juice, but that's just a personal taste thing, like I said, and it's not a bad drink at all. Alright, so I hope you liked the video as much as I enjoyed making it. As always, go ahead and leave a comment and a like if you did enjoy the video, and if you didn't, feel free to give it a dislike as well as a comment with some constructive criticism on how I could improve. If you'd like to see videos like this from me in the future, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification button, and that'll let you know whenever I release a new video. I'm really excited for the next one. If all goes to plan, it's going to be a 24-hour ration from Kazakhstan. So I think it's going to have some very interesting components and stuff that you're not really used to getting here, which I think is going to make for a really interesting experience and a really great video. So if you're interested in seeing that, go ahead and subscribe, and I hope to see you there.